Redford Henry Mulock. In the First World War, he served the Royal Naval Air Service and was both the first Canadian and first RNAS member to become a fighter pilot ace. Recognized for his leadership qualities as well as his skill, he displayed indefatigable zeal and energy, with increased responsibility as the highest-ranking Canadian airman in the war, and post-war continued his association with military and civil aviation. Redford Henry "Red" Mulock was born on August 11, 1886, in Winnipeg, Manitoba. As a teenager, he was interested in sailing, building his own boat, and played center on his hockey team. In 1909, Red graduated from McGill University in Montreal with a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering, and began work in his chosen field as an electrical engineer. His first service in uniform was as a lieutenant in the militia, serving with the Canadian Field Artillery, but he gave up his commission to enlist as a corporal in 1914 in the 1st Contingent of the Canadian Expeditionary Force, a move that would see him sent overseas to serve in the First World War. However, Red preferred to serve in the air and not on the ground, and in January 1915 he transferred to the Royal Naval Air Service. He soon qualified as a pilot, earning his certificate on March 9th of that year at the Royal Naval Flying School in Eastchurch, England, on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent. The Eastchurch Aerodrome on the east coast of England at the Thames Estuary was the home of aviation in England, the location of the first Royal Naval Air Service station. Red Mulock was commissioned again, this time wearing a uniform of the Royal Navy, as a flight sub-lieutenant in the RNAS, and began his operational flying. Here Red is shown at the right with his observer Lieutenant Peel, and on the back of this tiny photograph from the First World War, Red wrote, "Just taken after a rather rough trip to Zeebrugge on reconnaissance and photographing." Here Red is shown in the front cockpit of his aircraft, along with ground crew, who may be ready to start up a replacement engine. In July 1915, Red Mulock was posted to No. 1 Aeroplane Wing at St. Pol Airfield in Dunkirk. Flying Newport Type 10 and 11 aircraft, he carried out fighter patrols, bombing missions, photo reconnaissance flights, and directed naval gunfire. By the end of 1915, Mulock had been mentioned in dispatches for gallantry or otherwise commendable service. He had scored his first victory, sending down an enemy aircraft on December 30th. In January 1916, he downed 2 more. By March, he was promoted to flight commander. On May 21st, he scored a double victory and became both the first Canadian ace to destroy 5 enemy aircraft, as well as the first RNAS pilot to achieve that distinction. For his outstanding performance, in June 1916, Red Mulock was awarded the Distinguished Service Order. Both his skill as a pilot and his leadership qualities were recognized. In 1917, Red was appointed commanding officer of No. 3 Naval Squadron, equipped with the agile Sopwith Pup aircraft. Under Red's command, his pilots, half of whom were Canadians, claimed 80 successful combats with the loss of 9 pups. Red Mulock was mentioned in dispatches 3 times for outstanding performance, and for service from 1915 to 1918, the British government awarded a bar to his DSO for brilliant leadership and skill and bravery. On January 1st of 1918, he was promoted to wing commander. In 1918, with the joining of the Royal Naval Air Service and the Royal Flying Corps to form the new Royal Air Force, Mulock was called upon to form a new bomber wing. The objective of his 82nd Wing was to attack the industrial heartland of northwest Germany. In July 1918, he was promoted to colonel and given charge to establish and train a special force equipped with the huge 4-engine Handley Page 1500 bomber, designed to strike deep into Germany from bases in the British Midlands. The bomber dwarfed the small biplanes Mulock had first flown. By November, he had one of his squadrons ready to bomb Berlin, but the mission was scrubbed when armistice was declared and the war ended. In 1919, for continued outstanding services in addition to his wartime performance, Colonel Mulock was appointed as a Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In June 1919, Red returned to his hometown of Winnipeg, bringing with him his first wife, Edith Goodman, whom he married in England. He was hailed as a war hero on the front page of the June 3, 1919 edition of the Winnipeg Evening Tribune. Red and Edith settled in Winnipeg, but tragedy was soon to follow. The social column in the newspaper announced in 1923 their departure for a trip to England, and they sailed on the Canadian Pacific ship the SS Montcalm to visit Edith's parents. While they were in England, Edith died, and passenger records show that Red returned as a widower to Canada in September 1923. Following the war, Red Mulock left military service to become involved in peacetime aircraft industry. Nevertheless, he entered the Royal Canadian Air Force Reserve and rose to the rank of Honorary Air Commodore. By 1930, he had joined the New Canadian Airways Limited in Quebec as assistant to the president and worked with founder James A. Richardson to coordinate mail service with a number of small companies. During the Second World War, he was a member of Ottawa's Honorary Advisory Air Council. 10 years after his wife's death, Red Mulock remarried, this time to Marion Blakelock. He had no children by either wife. Regrettably, photographs of her were not found for this video. Redford Henry Mulock was a skilled pilot and successful manager of military and civilian aviation organizations. He recognized the importance not only of those who flew, but the importance also of ground crew, support, and policies that make a system work. He died in Montreal on January 23, 1961, survived by his second wife, Marion. He was admired and respected by those who served with him, and is remembered today in a new display of the Air Force Gallery at the Military Museums in Calgary, Alberta. Redford Henry Mulock was inducted as a member of Canada's Aviation Hall of Fame at ceremonies held in Richmond, British Columbia on June 10, 2010.